The city of Townsville. A bustling metropolis filled with well-meaning people, but extremely low on intelligence, going about their lives, ignoring the danger that looms because Mojo Jojo, him, the Gangrene Gang, Fuzzy Lumpkins, Sedusa, a random giant monster, the Roach Coach. Remember the one-time enemy that you might not even remember.
I remember
him. Yes, and every other villain in the world are banding together to destroy the fair city of Townsville and all of its peaceful, peace-loving inhabitants. Who will ever stop them?
Avast did apparently.
Oh, well,
Avast came to save the day.
And once again, the day is saved thanks to Avast Antivirus.
Why did you choose now to come on? I swear this lady is trolling me.
Alright, so this is a podcast about Powerpuff Girls. If you're not a fan of Powerpuff Girls, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
First of all, and second of all, might not be the podcast for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I've been lately busy in the binge watching, which is to say marathoning of every single season of Powerpuff Girls.
Which is going swimmingly from what you told me.
Yes and no. I mean, well, I'm basically doing that with the purpose of making videos about it. I already released one at this point in time. I have a second one on its way, which is going to be the review of the original unaired pilot episode made by Craig McCracken when he was a college student. And it has an interesting title, that's for sure, but its time will come.
Yes. All the whooping will be done soon.
All the whooping, because Craig 316 said so.
Was that a good enough clue for you all?
Yeah, probably not, but you'll get that reference once that video rolls around, so to speak, to save the day and whooping, so to speak. So the Powerpuff Girls. Like I said, I am marathoning through the entire seasons. I must say, so far it's been good. I'd say the show began strongly with the first season, which also established really little subtle nuances and bases which are going to be mentioned and become part of the continuity overall. For example, in Season 1 it was established that Blossom has ice breath. Right?
Yes, I remember that episode.
Yes,
actually.
and she keeps using ice breath throughout all seasons. It is also established that Bubbles doesn't like to be underestimated. She has her own episode in which she gets to, prove to herself and to the world that she is not to be trifled with, and she's not weak just because she acts girly and a bit hair-headed.
I remember that episode actually where she got a bit off-hinged.
Yeah, that was a great episode because the message seems to be that the fact that you might act in a certain way does not preclude you to be just as tough as you need to be. It doesn't preclude you from being, good at what you do, so to speak. You're not weak if you're girly. That's just a part of your personality, and people shouldn't underestimate you for that. And in fact, I must say that after that episode, it is subtle. So subtle you might not notice it, but nobody ever underestimates Bubbles again. At least when it comes to fighting, nobody ever underestimates her again.
Well, it's a very subtle thing because sweet little Bubbles is actually able to hit hard, just like just like her sisters. Really.
Yes,
and it's very obvious in that respect.
So I said before that this show does not have an overarching narrative or a proper continuity. In fact, it's very flexible with its continuity, sometimes to the detriment of the show itself. For example, when having that episode in season 2, the
Yeah.
Speed Demon episode, in which they travel to the future after running so fast, they went in time, so to speak, and they come into this future, a post-apocalyptic Townsville in which him took over, and it's fairly dark.
I think I would actually have an inkling of that episode in my mind because
Yeah, that episode is good. That episode is pretty dark, but it's also pretty memorable for that reason. And if in the lesson, the message you get away from that episode is that, well, Townsville really, really, really needs its superheroes.
Well, of course they need them. Without them, they'd be assuming that defeating a monster would take soggy toast.
That episode is fantastic.
I know, I love that episode.
The episode in which the townspeople said to destroy a monster of their own, but they don't know the first thing to do because they are so pampered to the point that they became literally stupid. Stupid pampered.
I just love that episode just because it sets it up really well for the biggest punchline, in my opinion, where the girls decide, after having to clean their toilets, take the cat's litter and all that, they decide, you know what, we're going to just sit up in this cloud all day and not do anything for them.
Yes.
And then they come to him all like, Powerpuff Girls, save us! No, you do it yourselves now.
Panic! Monster! Okay, and then they say, okay, so you have the monster trapped. So what do you do now? We destroy him! Yeah, we destroy him.
Yeah, okay. And then they go off, and then they come back.
Wait. No, it's like this. Okay, but how do you destroy it? We don't know that yet. Yes, we don't know that yet.
Oh yes, I remember that one.
Okay, this harkens back to what I said about this show in my the recent master presentation videos, which began season 3 of master presentations, in which I said this show actually is able to cover multiple facets, multiple tones and genres, and smoothly going in between comedy, drama, occasionally tragedy, and some really dark themes, even scary moments, and also slice of life and deeply moving family moments in between the girls and their father.
And tons of ass-kicking action.
Also that. It's a lot of arse whooping, you could say.
You have to admit that the Powerpuff Girls does take a lot after superhero comic books in a way, but does it better.
The superpowered girls. Yes, I said that not on purpose, by the way. Yes, the PPG actually have a lot of cleverly implemented sources that directly or indirectly inspired them. From tokusatsu shows with Monster of the Week formula, as in fighting giant kaiju every week.
Yeah.
Because all the kaiju, the giant monsters, just so happen to live on the Monster Isle that's like 2 miles from the coast of Townsville.
Yes. You'd think they would move after a while.
And the funny thing is that it is established in one fantastic episode, that all the monsters actually go to Townsville for the specific purpose of fighting the girls, because it is some sort of a ritual of maturation. Remember in that episode in which they actually tried to act like stereotypical comic book superheroes, only to come across the obvious shortcomings of those kind of heroes, which was a really funny and clever episode.
Yes, I think I do remember that.
Yes, in which Blossom, being basically the proactive feminist minded of the group, takes after Wonder Woman, more or less a clone of Silver Age Wonder Woman, not the actual one, of course, for copyright reasons. And she decides, you know what? I had to get my own lasso of truth and justice, my own car, my own gadgetry, and then I'm going to fight evil. And then she gets stuck in traffic, of course. And then there is Bubbles, who basically is inspired by a Japanese manga starring a bunny, which I'm fairly sure is supposed to be a parody of Hello Kitty, which would also make sense and be sort of smart in a metatextual sort of way, because the voice actress of Bubbles, Tara Strong, is also the voice actress of the dub version of Hello Kitty. So yeah, very
nice subtle detail, that one.
So Bubbles basically dresses herself as a hopping bunny with a with the stickers. And then there is Bubbles, which basically becomes a cross between Batman and Spawn. but she cannot fight during the daylight, so she doesn't do anything during the day. And that's funny because that's paradoxical, because the Powerpuff Girls fight usually only during the day, because they had to go to bed at night because they are young girls growing up, fighting crime in time for bedtime. It's kind of the slogan of the show too.
Well, it also doesn't. Actually, two things. One, I actually do remember that episode, but not fully. I only remember it because of that Buttercup's idea of what she wants to be as a superhero, and the car with Blossom.
Yes.
Because those two things stuck in my mind a lot more than the rest of the actual episode. But the second thing I wanted to say, though, was the whole, fighting crime before bedtime reminds me of that one episode where Professor Utonium decides to act curfew.
Okay, so all the episodes that we are referencing right now come from season 2 and 3. There is a good reason for that.
Yes.
I believe the first 3 seasons were the most at the most reruns, so to speak. So
yeah, they definitely did have the most reruns, especially on the channels I were watching it on.
Yes, at least for my experience, the first 3 seasons had the most reruns on Cartoon Network Europe. Because yes, I had the fortune to have cable television growing up.
As did I, actually. I actually remember the time when I watched Cartoon Network with Heathcliff and
oh man, yes,
I remember the really weird cartoons, like something to do with a Mr. Mentally or something. But I forgot what his name. Anyway, I
remember the worst. I remember the worst of the worst, which was Cow and Chicken.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that was terrible.
The only good thing about Cow and Chicken was the red guy.
The red guy. And there was also the Sub show that became its own spin-off show of Cow and Chicken, which was I Am Weasel, which in some way was even worse, actually.
Yeah, very weird and formulated. Anyway, Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, there are. It would be cool. Oh, since I know there are comic books of the Powerpuff Girls, as well as other popular IP of Cartoon Network being published by IDW as we speak. I know there have been plenty of crossovers, and I know for a fact that there have been crossovers involving even the Red Devil guy from Cow and Chicken. So I imagine an unholy alliance between him and him, capital H.
Yes.
As in the Red Devil guy from Powerpuff Girls.
That would be so weird because the red guy would just be too busy probably making snarky remarks about how him looks.
You look fat, man. And they say, well, I am not fat. I just have a constitution. Something like that. Well, okay, that wouldn't be so clever. But anyway, Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, Powerpuff Girls.
Okay, so all the way when I actually started talking about the Speed Demon episode, I had a point. Okay, so remember that episode in which they go to that other town, Citiesville?
Oh yes, I remember that one.
That's okay. That's actually one of the most hated episode for a very viable reason. Because the first 2 seconds, the first 8 seconds of it, pretty much go completely against the very premise of the show. Girls fighting to protect Townsville because Townsville is completely defenseless without them. In fact, if anything, the episode in which they have curfew, the daylight savings episode,
Yes.
proves also enforces that in a really comedic way because 5 seconds they're not fighting crime. The city is doomed, burning to ashes.
Yes. It's like Townsville's getting destroyed.
Oh, Townsville is doomed.
Professor Utonium trying to find a better channel.
Yes, and
As if like he's trying to ignore all the things that are happening.
yes, but a scene that really cracks me up every time that I remember this episode is when the girls have to go to bed, right? They
Yeah.
are tucked in bed and they are understandably worried about the fate of their beloved Townsville. And the professor is like, don't worry, Townsville is safe and sound. And he's actually at that point showing to them the city through the window. And and the second he's not looking, the city instantly bursts into flames.
The flames. Yes. Look at that. It's still bustling with activity.
And all the screams of death and panic just adds to the charm. Seriously,
I know it sounds a bit morbid, that joke, but it's actually very hilarious.
No, it's because there's. It's all a matter of how you frame a joke. You have a specific setup and a punchline, and this show will and had many moments in which it resorts to dark humor and really morbid jokes, and but for the most part they were funny. Well, until we get to season 5, but that's an argument for later on.
And an argument I won't be a part of because I never watched it.
Well, aside from the outstanding return of the Rowdy Rough Boys, so far I think you didn't miss much.
Okay, so let's talk about the actually...
Okay, so I was talking about the episode in which they go to Citiesville, right?
Yes, Citiesville.
That episode falls immediately flat from a premise standpoint because it goes immediately against the premise of the show as a whole. Namely, the fact that they cannot leave Townsville, not even for a lousy weekend, or 5 minutes, because it will instantly go into doomination mode, so to speak. And yet,
Apparently all the villains went on holiday as well.
The very first few seconds is the professor telling the girls that he has accepted a new job in Citiesville and they are transferring to that city.
That seems a bit highly and probably ridiculous.
Yes, but you know what?
What?
But by the end of the episode, they just realize that Citiesville sucks. So let's go back to the great city of Townsville where the people are actually nice. Seems like a complete waste of time as far as episodes go. But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
If you manage to completely forget the premise, which is hard to actually, it's hard to forget it. If you manage to completely remove the premise of this episode from your mind, this one story of the girls stuck into a Los Angeles-esque kind of urban environment would work well as an Elseworld kind of story. An alternative universe in which maybe the Powerpuff Girls were not defending the friendly town of Townsville in which everybody loves them, but they were stuck defending the ungrateful, uncivilized, barbaric, and quite frankly, not neighborly people of a Los Angeles-esque kind of urban center. It would make for a gritty reboot, so to speak. I find that premise interesting. For an Elseworld story, completely separated from the canon.
Yes, it would be interesting in a different sort of atmosphere in the Citiesville. That's
Yes.
for sure.
But you
No,
know what?
it's also
There is
social
only.
commentary on how people give little fricks in the city about
Mm,
well, not true
yeah,
entirely, but it's a
people.
stereotype by shows anyway. Whenever people move to a city after living in a, quiet suburban.
No, it's obvious that the city of Townsville is supposed to be to represent the idealized vision of the perfect American society, in which made which includes the typically nuclear family containing suburban centers in the outskirts,
Mm-hmm.
but also the main city being a cultural melting pot, so to speak, where different people with different backgrounds and different nationalities live in harmony, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. Which clearly it was made to for mostly satirical reasons. And there is a lot of satire going on occasionally in the show when it comes to, well, um, depicting the impossibility of the American dream, so to speak. But from a practical standpoint, it makes sense that the Townsville will be such a fantastic place full of fantastic people, because the drawback is the fact that it's the most villainous ridden city in the world, with monsters attacking every now and then. Clearly, it's homaging Silver Age comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's a thing it cannot get away from.
Yes, in fact, Mojo Jojo is basically the Lex Luthor to the Powerpuff Girls Superman. But we'll get to that. We're going to discuss in
Yeah, we'll
depth
be
about the
discussing
villains.
that at some point.
But
Yes.
first, okay, let me tell you, there were certain episodes that really of the show that really surprised me on a second viewing.
Other than the prison rape jokes.
Well, yes, okay. For some reason, the prison rapes jokes involve Mojo Jojo mostly. Yes, it's weird. It's really weird. I don't know if I find them funny, but they are there. They are subtle, but they are definitely there. I couldn't believe it.
The funny
But
thing
no.
is, I actually did notice that when I was younger.
Well, my memory of it was foggy. Maybe it's because the Italian dub tend to uh, censor certain innuendos.
Well, I know at one point Cartoon Network went on earlier episodes of certain cartoon series, they had to either cut off or change completely lines that were considered not good for viewing. Like, I don't know whether that happened with Powerpuff Girls. I know it happened with Dexter's Lab and Johnny Bravo at one point. Where
Johnny, I wasn't surprised because Johnny Bravo is basically the Beavis and Butthead for children.
yeah, it's just with Johnny Bravo, it was just one kid who called someone a spaz.
Really?
Yes, spaz means spacker, which is...
I know, but really?
Yes, they completely changed the line just because of that one word.
But they managed to get away with far worse than that.
Well, yeah, and Dexter's Lab completely cut off a gym teacher saying crap when he got a sick note from Dexter.
You know, Ren and Stimpy used to say crap all the time.
Which is very strange, isn't it? I don't know.
It was they were different times.
So I don't know whether Powerpuff Girls had the same issue, but I don't think it did. I think they got away with not doing it at all.
They got away with pretty much everything they threw at us, even the raunchiest of the raunchy humor.
And Seducer in general.
Yes, every episode involving Seducer was quite risque in its own right, because that villain, the whole shtick of that villain is the fact that she seduces men in order to get her way, and they were pretty open, pretty in your face about it too.
Yeah,
so...
that was the kids' gloves were off when she entered.
Yes, pretty much. Okay, there are a few episodes, even in when the show didn't jump the shark, so to speak, because at some point it did jump the shark around season 5. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain episodes of the so-called, let's say, good run of the show that pisses me off so much. And maybe for the silliest of reasons. Remember the episode Fallen Arches, in which those old, retired former supervillains decide to go back into business?
I'm trying
And then Blossom has the brilliant idea of employing retired superheroes to take care of the retired villains.
Oh gosh. Yes.
I hate that episode so much. I cannot even bear to watch it.
I almost forgot that episode existed.
That's okay. In my recent marathoning of this show, when I got to that episode, I tried to watch it. I couldn't stand more than 2 minutes of it. I had to skip it.
What was wrong with it exactly?
It pisses me off for so many reasons. Okay, so there's these 3 old, basically senile old men that decide, hey, we're going to rob banks and nobody's going to stop us for some reason. And they are sexist douches because they are from another era, so they treat the girls poorly. So and Blossom is the worst part of this episode. Blossom tells them, no, we cannot stop them because we cannot do anything to them because we have to respect our elders. But
that doesn't stop them from carrying them.
That doesn't preclude you from grabbing them and bringing them to their senile old retirement home instead of letting them rob in the bank. And what's the deal with everyone in Townsville? This is what pisses me off even more because they are 3 senile old men. They cannot even carry bags because the bags hurt. The police could easily stop them. Especially since it's the same police that turned out to be surprisingly competent in that one episode with the crooked cop. Remember that?
You would have to. Anyway, get back.
So the point is, okay. So the point is, Blossom doesn't want to stop them because they are old, and they blame and everybody starts telling that the Powerpuff Girls are incompetent and cowardly, and they blame them from these old guys running rampant, and no one else ever tries to stop them, not even trying, even though they could easily stop them because they are 95 or something. And then the entire episode gets hijacked by these two superheroes, retired superheroes that are supposed to be clearly a parody of Batman and Robin from the 1960s show, and they are insufferable too. And I cannot stand that episode. I don't find it funny. I find it stupid, really, annoyingly stupid. So I skip it altogether.
Well, yeah, it's like how I said, really. It couldn't stop Blossom and Bubbles and Buttercup from carrying the old men away.
Carry them away. End of the episode. We can be spared of the torture.
I mean, if I remember correctly, the episode doesn't end for anyone good.
No, because the 5 old people involved in all this end up at the hospital.
That's not funny.
That's not funny. No, that's terrible.
That's awful.
That's terrible.
Is that the only time we've ever seen anyone go to the hospital in Townsville?
I wish. Well, okay. So Here's another episode that was pretty memorable. It's the one episode in which Blossom kind of goes to jail.
Remember to jail. I'm trying to remember that one.
She gets to do 200 hours of public service as punishment for stealing the $2,000 priced golf set.
Oh, for Professor Utonia.
For Father's Day.
For Father's Day.
that was a really bold episode because it showed a part of Blossom that's both really uh, fragile, but also really dangerous if left unchecked.
Yeah, but
Because she this happens when she doesn't think things through, and then she panics, and then she tries to frame Mojo Jojo, and she only confesses because she got caught by the other two,
yeah,
and she receives appropriate punishment for it. So it was a crime and punishment sort of ordeal.
I don't know.
Really straightforward, and but also really um, I'd like to say educative, because the worst thing she did was not the actual stealing part, but was lying and framing poor Mojo.
Yeah, that was probably
Yes,
the
but
that was like a line she crossed that shouldn't have been crossed in the first place, sort of deal.
yeah, yes, but okay, but I like the fact that this accident is never mentioned ever again in the show after that.
Well,
Uh,
it's like what happens if a certain child of a family member steals in real life. They don't mention it again.
well, but they don't mention it because, well, there is not an actual continuity here. But I like to think that, well, they love her, so of course they forgive her.
Of course.
And that's and this brings me to the point that my favorite moments of the show, my favorite moments in general of the show, were the moments in which we get to explore the bonds, the family bonds in between the three sisters and her father, and the slice of life moments and exploration of their emotions and psyche in relation to what they actually are in the eyes of the world. And so we have moments in which they cannot have normal children's lives, no, or have fun like other children, because they have the responsibility of saving the world. It's the Spider-Man dilemma, really. It's from great powers come great responsibility shtick. With the sole difference is that, well, the Powerpuff Girls did it first, before the same Raimi's film, at least, and it doesn't have a whole lot of whining in it. So
that's a big plus.
So it's better by default.
Yes.
And it's mostly subtle too, so it's not in your face about it.
Yeah.
Nobody ever spells it out to us that from great powers come great responsibility. It's very much implied and for us to see.
Which I appreciated a lot because
Yes. Okay. So the show had a lot in terms of subtlety in the early stages, at least. A lot in terms of subtlety, mostly because, well, if they were open about certain themes, they might not have been able to get away with it. With that said, there was that episode about sexism. That was anything but not on the nose, which is to say was extremely on the nose, and it makes me realize that this show is actually more potent and powerful in its messages and themes when it's not actually trying to be as open as possible about them. Well, at least when it comes to sexism.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, the Equal Fights episode, that's the one, might have been Lauren Faust's first big contribution to the show. Because Lauren Faust only came to working on the show when it was already underway. And you know who the head writer was, by the way?
Not really. No, I didn't keep track of that.
Okay, you laugh at this because the head writer of the show
Yeah.
was Amy Keating Rogers.
Amy Keating Rogers.
Amy Keating Rogers, which is currently a writer in MLP Friendship is Magic, and wrote everyone's favorite Pinkie Pie episode.
Wow, that's what a small world we live in. Eh?
Yes, she wrote Pinkie Pride, among many other memorable episodes. So yes, a lot of people that are currently working on MLP were from Powerpuff Girls, surprisingly.
Yes, that I knew that much because the fact that because well, it's Lauren Faust that started the MLP reboot.
Yes, and
So
then
so it's
and there are such writers as Cindy Morrow
yeah.
and Amy Keating Rogers and Rob Renzetti, which was a storyboard artist in Powerpuff Girls,
So really it
for a
didn't.
time was worked on the first two seasons of MLP, and so on and so forth.
So to me, that's like doesn't surprise me that it kind of translates that, if you know what I mean,
Hmm.
from one show to the next. If
Okay, yes, but okay. Speaking of sexism, okay, so the sexist episode of Equal Fights, I didn't find it great. I understand what it was going for, but well, the straw feminist stereotype is not helpful to anyone, if you ask me. With that said, the second time the show openly addressed sexism,
yeah,
it made for a fantastic episode, a fantastic and really funny episode. Members only from season 4.
I
The one with Major Glory and every other and all the other manly superheroes of the of the AWSM Superhero Summit 2000. The awesome Superhero Summit 2000. That's the joke, and I was
yes.
that was a that was a pretty clever episode, and it was well done. And thematically speaking, it was also about the girls, well, discovering that your idols might not actually be what you think they are. They might actually be bastards, sexist douches, and
Yeah.
I like, and then there is the overarching joke of members only, because it's like saying penises only. And then Major Glory was really funny in it.
And then
More than a sexist guy would have any right to be.
yeah.
Okay,
Which is
my
kind of
favorite.
strange considering that in one episode of Dexter's Lab he almost took Dee Dee as a sidekick.
Yes, I remember that.
So that was kind of strange to see
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
hear Major Glory being a sexist. It doesn't
Well, well,
unless they're different Major Glories, like different realities versions of them.
well. It could be that female sidekicks are perfectly acceptable
Ah.
because sidekicks are supposed to make the hero look good. You know, that's what they do.
Well, that's what they used to do.
That's what they still do.
Well, that's what writers think they still do.
That oh well, for that matter, that's the Rowdy Rough Boys is what writers think boys would act.
Yeah, just like they go with
Hey, we
spiked
like
hoofball.
yes, yes, we like to fight. Yeah,
We like to fight.
Awesome vehicles,
Play
video games,
hoofball,
candy,
video games, candy, everything.
airplanes, tanks,
Insects!
explosion,
Exploding insects!
eating cockroaches,
Yeah, that's pretty much the stereotype of
spitting,
boys.
a lot of spitting.
And why is it that the Powerpuff Girls broke from the typical stereotype of what people expected girls to be, but the Rowdy Rough Boys couldn't exactly get off the chains of that curse?
Well. The for the second question, the answer is easy. The Rowdy Rough Boys are villains, are supposed to be the perfect antithesis of whatever the Powerpuff Girls are supposed to be, and they're also one-note caricature of some of the main traits of the personality of our main characters, turned into bizarro world, so to speak.
I
For
gathered
ex-
that much.
so, for example, Brick, the leader of the Rowdy Rough Boys,
Yeah.
is an egocentric, bossy egomaniac, and Blossom tends to be bossy too. So it's like taking that trait and emphasize it to the max, and you have a really unlikable jerk.
Douchebag.
Jerk. And then Okay, and then there is Boomer, the blonde one, which is dumb.
Yes, the dumb one.
And it's supposed to be a counterpart to Bubbles, which is a bit puffier, which is a cute little puffy airhead sometimes, but she's definitely not dumb. Definitely not dumb. She has her own way to express herself. She likes to draw too, with her pastel colors, the chalks, and she's kind of adorable too.
Yeah, she's definitely is adorable.
No, but the male version of her is just dumb.
Yeah, the male version is not
It's just dumb.
adorable.
And then there is Butch, which is Buttercup counterpart. And I have no idea what is wrong with him. He always seems on the verge of going into a rampage. He trembles like he can barely contain himself.
Oh, I gotta punch someone. Gotta punch someone. I gotta punch.
It feels like he's on a constant sugar rush. I think he needs some medication. Fast.
Well, I don't think Mojo's gonna get him anytime soon.
Okay, at this point, before we actually start to talk about the villains.
Yeah, we already talked about Rowdy Rough Boys, so
Yeah,
what else do we need to talk about?
Actually, let's finish talking about the Rowdy Rough Boys since we started this.
Okay.
Okay, remember the first time they appeared? Because
oh yeah, Mojo was in prison while he was trying to gather the ingredients of what makes the perfect little boys.
The perfect rowdy boys.
Yes.
Say. So he gathered the most disgusting ingredients he can find, and he combined them into
hair, slugs.
He combined them into his toilet
and toenail clippings, and then when he came to what will make a good chemical X,
the toilet.
Yes, and he sniffed the toilet.
That's wow. Okay, I'm surprised that it didn't come out looking more horrifying.
I know, good lord. That's like, with how stinky that toilet looked, it was like, Mojo just sniffed it and he was like,
Mojo Jojo, are you Okay, there's something that puzzles me about Mojo Jojo.
What?
At some point, he seems to have gotten his hands on the actual chemical X. And yet, instead of using him on himself, he coerces others to use it. And, I don't get why. I really don't. Couldn't he give himself superpowers and be an even match for the girls? No. He has to give chemical X to the Princess Morbucks when they do their own unholy alliance thing, and then he has to convince 4 kids to get chemical X. Don't do drugs, kids, by the way. That's the message. Which is another episode I cannot stand, by the way.
Yeah, it's like PSA style.
No, because we spend the entire time with 4 kids that we know nothing about it. They are quite frankly insufferable.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I cannot stand that episode.
Makes more sense. I have to admit, though, I thought the reason was because of that whole situation that retconned the Powerpuff Girls creation, where Mojo Jojo was the of Professor Utonium, and he got some chemical X on his head, where that's how he got his brain to grow out of his head.
No, actually that episode comes from the first season. It's actually one of the fundamental canon episodes. One of the fundamental storylines that it also became the pretext for the film in 2002, which explores the origins of the girls. I had to rewatch that film, but that film is important because the show took an hiatus during that time to actually make that film, to have that film made. And when the show returned, the style had completely changed, the focus had completely changed, and it wasn't as good anymore.
Eesh.
And for me, that I am marathoning this show, I can tell you with absolute certainty that the show reached its zenith in quality, its peak with season 4, or at least the first 10 episodes of season 4, which, by the way, they were all 20 minutes long. which was a great idea because with 20 minutes long, the writers could actually proper develop stories and situation to fill that running time. And it just so happens that some of the best episodes that this show has ever seen. It does have my very own personal favorite, Super Friends,
Yeah, that one. I remember it now that
which is
saw a tiny bit of it.
which is absolutely fantastic. Tonally speaking, it feels completely different from anything else. It is a pure slice of life, emotional, introspective look at the life of the girls, and and the new character, the new neighborhood girl that they befriend, she's really adorable, and she also has her own parental problems, cleverly hidden in the subtext of the episode. Because, okay, there is this line that puts everything into perspective in that episode in which she mentions that, much like the Powerpuff Girls, she was born by accident.
Yeah, that's a bit of a heavy.
That was heavy, but it was so good. Well, it was such. It tells you a lot about the character
And her family life.
Yes, and it puts the entire episode into perspective, and you can see why her own friendship with the girls is so important to her, especially since she moved into a new place, because she might not have the happiest situation in her home. And then Princess Morbucks gets into the story, and she has basically her best role in the entire show. And absolutely, bar none. I think, this is the best writing work by Cindy Morrow.
Yeah.
Like we actually talked a bit about this episode in our family-friendly pony podcast.
Yes. It all comes full circle now.
It all comes full circle. So season 4 was the greatest season, at least the first 10 episodes. It has such fantastic stories. For example, him gives Bubbles special sharks to draw new things, and those monsters coming to life. Her drawing coming to life, and they are a manifestation of her rage, and which is great. There is the members only episode, which is very funny. There is the episode in which they fight the criminal alien mastermind, and they decided to ally themselves with Mojo Jojo to match the intelligence of the alien mastermind, and nothing has destroyed in this show like in that episode. So much destruction, and it was fun. It's the season 4 was. I think season 4 was kind of perfect. I am afraid. I also am afraid to say it.
Sadly, I don't think I've seen much of season 4. The only one that sounds familiar to me is the Bubbles with the magic chalk or crayon.
The magic chalk, and
that one was the most familiar to me, just because I think I remember a scene where Bubbles was basically mimicking, something that really cheesed her off.
Yes.
And she was drawing with that chalk.
And then her drawings, her really childish drawings, become alive, and they seems to be unstoppable. Okay, I really like the scene in which him comes to her like a butterfly with little animal friends, and slowly corrupts her. And the animation and the environment was pretty. Was pretty.
Yeah.
Well, it was pretty.
Yes, the animation was pretty. Ooh.
Yes, that was pretty. That was also pretty cool, but mostly pretty. Oh, and let us not forget about the episode "Knock It Off," in which basically they had perhaps the best villain they ever had, Professor Dick Hardley.
Dick Hardley was he from season 4?
Yes, he was He was a college student with Professor Utonium.
Yeah, I don't remember that episode then.
He was an opportunist. he managed to convince the girls to give him the chemical eggs, so he made his own cheap knockoffs of the Powerpuff Girls to be shipped all over the world and make money off of them.
Oh no, Phalos will be reviewing bootlegs of them.
Actually, yes, this episode clearly as a commentary against copyright infringement or the fear of copyright infringement from, the makers of a legitimate product. Okay, of course, the reality of it is that bootlegs never actually threaten the main industry, the legit products. There is space enough for everyone, but the commentary that I find more interesting in this episode comes from a slightly different source. If you put the copyright infringement theme on the side and you focus on the fact that these knockoff bootlegged super-powered girls, Powerpuff Girls, that Dick Hardley creates, are actually alive. They are sentient and all that.
Is it cloning?
They are pretty much defective in many ways, but they are alive regardless. And then they get packaged like toys and shipped all around the globe. And I cannot help but think of it as a parallel to, well, the human slave and prostitution market.
Oh. That's the one you're referring to.
Yes, and if you consider the fact that Dick Hardley is like the biggest, namesake ever, and then he gets turned into a giant monster at the end because he stupidly ingests chemical eggs, and then and by the end of it, all of its creations rebel against him because he never actually showed love to them. That makes this episode all the more powerful. There is also the fact that the Professor Utonium would basically do anything to save his daughter because he really loves them.
Yes, we always know that.
Yes, and this is why I kind of don't like the tone of season 5, which came after that. And its main focus became comedy, but so less about everything else, just comedy. Yeah. And the writing was not as witty or clever, and for the sake of a cheap joke, they would have characters going, out of character, or a bit flanderized. And I don't know. Okay, there is this one episode in which everybody lies to the other one, and there is this little white lie monster that grows more powerful with every lie that is mentioned, and it's a bit hard to digest the fact that Bubbles would actually lie or the Professor Utonium would lie to his children so they can actually close himself in his laboratory to watch a TV show, especially after an episode like Powerpuff, in which he would go to all possible length to spend more time with them.
Especially since he spends less time with them already, considering they're superheroes.
Yes, and considering, like I said, the Powerpuff episode, in which he wants to spend time with them so bad, he decides to make his own power armor and fight crime with them. It doesn't go well, but not for the reason you might think of. He's actually quite competent as a superhero, but he embarrasses them.
Yes.
Constantly with outdated slang from his youth, and by and by sharing details about his daughters with strangers.
I think I remember that.
You should remember that because the first 5 minutes of it are like the best thing ever, as I stated already. It has no dialogue, just a montage of them trying to have a pleasant family day, only for duty to call and have them interrupted, which is moving and everything. And then there is this one scene in which, also with no dialogue, in which the girls very subtly sneak up the professor to try to clue him in that they want to go to the movies to watch a. It's difficult to describe. You would have to see it, but basically it's all in one take. The professor is doing an experiment on his laboratory white table, and the girls, you see them popping out ever so slightly from the side of the table. You can only see the topmost part of their head, and they put on toys and pieces of paper to distract him or to call his attention to other things. And then it all ends in the next scene in a tickling fight. And it's the most adorable thing ever. Seriously.
Yes,
It's beautiful.
It is lovely.
And all of that I miss sorely in season 5 because now it is all mindless, silly comedy that basically makes fun of the show. It feels more like a parody of the show that I enjoyed up until that point. So this brings me to the same problem that I have with Dance Pants, which is the 15th anniversary special. Because that episode felt like very much the final seasons of the show rather than being an homage to everything good that the show had. So it was some really lame parody.
Yeesh.
And the more I think about it, the more I hate the style, because it really takes some talent, in quotes, really, to make characters look even more flat in 3D than they were in 2D. That's they look like they look like characters made of paper. They don't look good at all.
Yeah, I think I intentionally avoided that one as soon as I saw a picture of that one.
But you should definitely watch the 10th anniversary special, though. It is simply titled "The Powerpuff Girls Rule," and it's animated in Flash, and it looks quite good. And it's, quite frankly, fantastic. It's so much fun. It is kind of the perfect send-off to the show altogether. Which is funny, considering that this show never actually disappeared from our collective consciousness, from our pop culture memorabilia, so to speak. Because as soon as the official show ended, there it started Powerpuff Girls Z in Japan. It was the anime and the manga. Then it's the only Cartoon Network IP that actually has anniversary specials, if you think about it.
Yeah, true.
And apparently so from what I hear, the show is going to be rebooted in 2016.
The words "oh gosh" comes to mind.
Which would make me happy. It would be the perfect time to revitalize this show, considering how much superheroes are popular right now.
Yeah, true, but I'd be worried that it won't be exactly the same.
Oh, it most certainly won't be, but we'll see about it.
Yeah, but we have to see what they do.
Okay, so approximately 45 minutes ago, we started talking about the Rowdy Rough Boys.
Yeah, we did talk about the Rowdy Rough Boys.
Okay, I had a complaint.
Oh?
I have a significant complaint about their original appearance, the original episode.
The fact they were one note?
No, we already complained that okay, like we said, they seem like the perfect foils for the girls, the perfect villains, right?
Yeah.
The perfect nemesis. Nemesi.
Yeah.
How do you say
Nemesis.
How do you say plural to nemesis?
Nemesises.
Nemesis, I don't think so. But anyway, the point is, but still, they are not really as interesting as villains because, well, like I said, they are too one note. They are too caricatural. Whereas most villains in the show tend to be really memorable because they are funny and charismatic, and they have a lot in terms of entertainment value.
Well, not only that, but also the Rowdy Rough Boys just seem to be just fighting them just because.
Yes, but well, they have potential. But there is one thing that I don't like about their episode.
Was it
Okay,
because they
so
appeared from a toilet?
no, no, it's not that. Believe it or not, it's not that. It's how they are defeated.
Oh no, not that
Okay,
part.
okay. On one hand, I am very much amused by the idea that the superpowered boys are destroyed by literally destroyed by girl cuties.
Yes, a
It
kiss
is
on the cheek.
yes, it is very ironic, but on the other hand, think of the message here. The Powerpuff Girls could not defeat them on a fair fight because the boys were apparently stronger, quote unquote. So the only way to defeat them was to use their femininity to get the better of them.
And they blew up to smithereens.
What kind of freaking message is that? I mean, hey, girls, you will go everywhere in life if you know how to get to the boys. Just,
Yeah.
it baffles me to think about it. It's just,
Or if you think of it this way, the message could have been easily misconstrued as if you're in a fight with a boy or you're annoyed by a boy, give him a kiss on the cheek. That will help.
it's not even. It's kind of worse. It's like, okay. When they return in season 5, they had the presence of mind to made the two team evenly matched. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, that was
That was a good
that was
decision.
definitely better.
That was one of the best. That was one of the best decisions. The direction of the post 2002 film had in with the show. Okay, so we're talking about villains now, right?
Yes, but we might as well talk about villains since we.
Okay, so the Radioactive Boys, on a scale of on a threat scale, so to speak, I would put them at the highest point because they were indeed the most dangerous villains that the girls ever faced. But from a personality standpoint, they're also the least interesting. So
They don't really have much of a motivation, so I would put them
no,
low for that.
no. Here's the thing: they don't need a motivation. They don't need a motivation. It's their thematic reason of being is reason enough to have them as a legitimate threat because they are violent, rowdy hoodlums, but they have superpowers. So basically, they can do whatever they want unless you stop them, and they are out of control because they are children.
But then that would mean giving people like Kefka a pass for that sort of motivation.
Well, why do you bring in Kafka?
I don't know because I just decided.
Well, Kafka is not Kafka. Okay, it is all okay. Here's the thing. It is
Yeah.
all a matter of perspective and context.
You see that, folks? Bringing the context.
The Rowdy Rough Boys, in the context of being the nemesis to the Powerpuff Girls, of being the exact opposite of everything they stand for, they work. Okay?
Yes.
The Powerpuff Girls are superhero. They want to defend and they want to defend justice and all that. The Rowdy Rough Boys don't care about anything. They're just violent and want to fight. So and they are out of control because because nobody is disciplining them. Nobody is giving them education. Unlike our main characters,
Who are getting education.
We're getting education, actually value family and what they have in general. The Rowdy Rough Boys were created for the sole purpose of destroying the Powerpuff Girls. And whereas the Powerpuff Girls were born by accident and decided on their own to become superheroes and defend Townsville. So you see, when you see things in context, when you put things into perspective, the Rowdy Rough Boys makes the most sense as foils to our main characters.
Yes, I get that.
Kafka, on the other hand, just doesn't make sense, even in his own context. But anyway, Kafka, never mind.
Yes, never mind. I just thought I'd bring it up just because it seemed kind of odd to me. You'd give it a pass considering destruction and all.
No, I don't. Well, they are children. What's Kafka's excuse?
He was experimented on and mind broken.
Oh, boo hoo hoo hoo. Yes, that was. Yeah, that doesn't change the fact that he destroys the world. He destroys the world and then does nothing.
Not destroys. Slightly damages it.
Yes, well, that's even worse. What is accomplished at the end of the day? At least, with the Rowdy Rough Boys, they know what they know. They know they might be rowdy children, but they know what they want. Okay?
Yes, I get you.
Anyway, like I said, okay, so we're doing an official scale here. This is the part of the podcast that becomes really fun because we get to judge the villains of the show on 3 different categories.
Power, motivation, personality.
Actually, yeah, more or less. On 3 different scales. The level of threat.
Yes, power and levels of threat.
Yes. Motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation. And personality.
Yeah.
The Rowdy Rough Boys.
Yeah.
They are the highest threat level.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that. Threat level high on that account.
Extremely high. Motivation. Well, motivation. They don't. I would give them a pass for motivation, given they are children, and their motivation is to make the Powerpuff Girls miserable, and for considering they were created for the specific purpose of defeating them. I'd say it's as good a motivation as anything for the fact that they are children. So I'd say motivation is meh. Neither bad, neither good, neither bad. Just on the middle.
Yeah, motivation is the same with me. I'm not particularly interested in the fact that their motivation's blasé, but it's doable.
And sometimes a good villain doesn't need a good motivation. It just needs to be charismatic.
Speaking of charisma...
And unfortunately, their personality-wise, they are not really interesting.
Yes, the charisma is literally like 0 points.
Boys, we like to fight. Yeah, fight. Girls stink. Eat cockroaches.
Yes.
Video games, tanks, airplanes, explosion. Okay.
But okay, let's see who's next on the list then.
Okay, so I'm actually going to take pen and paper here and do a little bit of, because use actual numbers for this. We're going to do this by the book, very by the book scientific method. Like Blossom would.
Of course you would.
Okay, so we're going with a 1 to 10 scale value. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so Rowdy Rough Boys. I'm writing it down.
Okay.
Rowdy Rough Boy. RRB.
Yeah, just call the RRB.
Threat 10.
9.
Okay, you say... Okay, let's compromise. 9.5.
Yeah, let's compromise.
Yeah, we will have to compromise everything. 9.5.
5 for medium, I say. Average for the...
Okay, so motivation M.
Yeah, 5. I would say 5.
A solid 5.
Yeah, because that's an average in my view.
Solid 5. And personality... okay, I'm going to be generous with them and give them a 3. What do you give them?
1 each. That's a 3 in total.
Okay, so it's 3. Okay, then. Alright. Okay, these are the RRB. So let's get to the next villain.
Let's see, should we start with the first one technically in the first episode, which was Fuzzy Lumpkin?
Okay, sure, it's a good choice. Fuzzy Lumpkin. Fuzzy Lumpkin was surprisingly underused. I mean, he was everywhere in the first season, but then he was nowhere in season 2.
He disappeared until like the
Meet the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Meet the Beatles episode in season 3, which was a really fun episode, and I liked it becomes especially hilarious when every single dialogue and line of dialogue becomes a reference to a Beatles song.
Yeah, I think the problem with Fuzzy Lumpkins really is I think that a lot of people didn't know how to write him because he's such a simpleton.
There isn't much to write, really. The guy is a parody of a redneck. He's a redneck stereotype with fur. He doesn't really have any motivation to speak of. He just likes to be left alone in his own antisocial privacy.
And not to mention is very possessive of his property.
Isn't my property!
Get off my property!
Get off my property! Look. Well, okay, so unless something drastic happens and he's drawn into town to wreak havoc, the guy should be relatively harmless.
Yes, I mean, the worst the guy's done is punch an old lady for picking up his hat.
Actually, for some reason, in Season 5, he stole money. I really don't see... Also, at some point he decides he wants to destroy the Powerpuff Girls, so we have the premise of the Meet the Beatles, in which he starts robbing banks with the others, which doesn't really make sense for the character.
Well, to be honest, I gave that one a pass just because, I just assumed he was just in it for the Powerpuff Girls only, But what doesn't make sense is him in that episode. Why would him, the source of our evil, the supernatural manifestation of all the evil in the universe, care about robbing banks? Is the whole motivation of him? I will get to him later. Yes, we'll get to him. So let's keep on Fuzzy Lumpkins.
There is something interesting about him. He might be the most interesting villain in the show, actually.
Yeah,
but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Fuzzy Lumpkin. So I'd say level of threat. Okay, so let's think about that. Fuzzy Lumpkin is
punched an old lady 10.
Fuzzy Lumpkin is, if you made him hungry, if you made him angry, he can become real dangerous.
He's like the bloody Hulk when
he hulks up and he becomes real dangerous. Then again, he's not very smart and he can be easily outsmarted.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to figure out that because the fact he's erratic.
It's erratic, but then again, all you need to do usually if you leave him alone, he won't be a threat to anyone. So 6.
Yeah, I'll be generous and give him a 6. I was thinking a 5 at first, but go with 6.
Level of threat 6. Now, as for
motivation
0.
Yes, there's virtually no motivation.
He has absolutely no motivation unless the writers want him to. So no wonder he almost completely disappeared from the show. They don't. What do you do with a character that has no motivation other than to stay in the privacy of his own household in the middle of the forest
and shoot everyone that he sees on sight on his property?
Like the hermit it is. So I say 1. 1 is the lowest. Actually.
Yeah, let's just go give him a 1 lowest. On motivation.
Personality now.
To be honest, I found him a tad boring as a villain in personality wise.
He is funny.
Yeah,
he's kind of funny, but the redneck shtick gets old real fast.
Yeah, so, I'd say give him a 2.
Wow. Well, I would give him a 4.
You give him a 4?
Yes, I would be generous. So,
oh my gosh.
So let's compromise.
Let's just go with a 3 and call it done.
Let's go with a. Wow. So far, Fuzzy Lumpkin surprisingly is the worst villain in the show.
Well, to be honest, I guess it's good that he acts as the introductory sort of episode sort of thing. When he was. Actually, do you remember that episode when he became mayor of the city?
That was the best episode of with Fuzzy Lumpkins. That was fantastic.
That was the only episode I remember now.
That was probably the only episode in which Fuzzy Lumpkin actually posed a legitimate threat. And it was also an episode that proved how much dumb Townsvillians were. They really deserve their mayor. They really deserve their mayors.
Help me catch my pig!
Help me catch my pig! Yeah, that was also where Fuzzy was at his funniest.
Yes.
You know what? You know what? I want to give him a 5 actually in personality.
Okay.
So we had to compromise again.
4 then.
Oh, yeah, okay, let's go with 4. 4. We're not being generous with Fuzzy Lumpkins.
No, because you have to really stick to your guns when you review characters.
Guns.
Yes, you saw what I did there.
At this point, I think we should talk about the most actually overused villains in the show, short of Mojo Jojo himself.
Oh no, not them.
Oh yes, them. These guys.
The ruddy hooligans.
These guys. They are simultaneously the best and the worst. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone's favorite band of juvenile delinquents, the Gangrene Gang.
No, why did you open this Pandora's box that is the Gangrene Gang?
Pandora's box? Really? Okay, there is something that baffles me about the Gangrene Gang.
Yes, it baffles me as well, actually.
It has always baffled me. Okay, so the whole shtick is that they are basically juvenile delinquents, right? With a peculiar skin condition. So, in the context of a show where there are super villainous, super intelligent monkeys bent on world domination, pure manifestations of evil, super powered children, and giant monsters attacking each and every week, you'd think that a gang of hooligans wouldn't pose a legitimate threat to our brave superheroines. And yet, in spite of that, the writers seem to have found way more ways to use them, to implement them as recurring villains than most other more legitimate threat sort of villains in this show. They had the most appearances, not even counting when they're just cameoing, in cameos and all that. They had the most presence as villains, and every time they turned out to be deadly enemies somehow.
More deadly than our rowdy rough boys, apparently.
They were implemented in pretty creative ways too. I mean, the first appearance of the gang.
They were just doing prank calls.
No.
Was it? Wait, that was the first time I saw them.
That was the second episode.
Oh.
Okay, so their worst crimes range from general vandalism to prank calls. And yet, the first episode they appeared, in the episode Butter Crush,
yes,
the leader of the group, Ace, takes advantage of Buttercup because she has a crush on him.
On Ace.
Yes, she has a crush on Ace, the leader of the gang, and he takes advantage of that to try and kill the other two. Juvenile delinquents, guys.
To be honest, that was the second episode I saw. I don't know what...
That was the very first appearance, and it was actually a very memorable appearance when they are walking on in group towards this random direction, and their theme plays in the background. And by the way, why is it that these guys have the best theme in the entire show? Remember, it's... Da-dun, da-dun, da-da-da-da-dun,
I know, it sounds like bloody gangsters coming in.
It's fantastic. So, the Gangrene Gang. Okay, like I said, it's baffling because in the context of the show, they are nothing but hoodlums. And yet, the writers found very creative way to turn them into legitimate villains and threats and make a general good and productive use with them. It's weird. It's weird because of that. It's weird, but it actually happened. And they had some fantastic episodes. Remember the episode Power Lunch, in which they ate candies from a shop, and then the girls lasered them up, but that created some sort of chemical reaction with the candy in the stomach, and they gained superpowers. And they also and they were also very clever superpowers related to both their personality and the kind of food they ingested.
I really don't.
And they would have defeated the girls too if they didn't have to go to the bathroom
Oh, I remember that part of that episode.
to say digest and evacuate the food that they've eaten. So they lost their superpowers because of that. It's unbelievable how much use the writers of this show had for these characters.
Okay, I guess it's because the writers must have really liked them for some reason.
Well, they are a bunch of differentiate
Delinquents.
funny-looking delinquents with their own unique perks. Like you can actually, they're all individually very memorable. Ace is this somewhat charismatic but also very full of himself sort of leader. And there's this Big Billy, which is the dumb fat one. And this reminds me of that episode in which Big Billy decides to become the butler to the girls because they're saving from a train.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And then there is the Snake one.
Yes, I don't remember his name. I just remember...
Snake.
Yes, Snake.
Just Snake. And then there is the little guy, which
Pablo,
is apparently Spanish.
was he? Was he Pablo or Sven?
No. Eduardo or something. But anyway, he was little one in Spanish. And then there is the guy who always
has his eyes popping out of his face,
and he's always blowing a raspberry because it is his only way of communicate.
Yeah.
So they're all individually very easy to recognize and memorable from a design standpoint, and yet they are just gang members. They are going to be difficult to rate.
Yeah, because they totally had powers for like an episode, and then.
But at the same time, they managed to find themselves in the right situation to exploit the right kind of strategy to almost get rid of the girls.
So threat level, I would say a 7.
Threat level. Well, then again, the vast majority of the time, it's not. The only thing preventing the girls to actually pummel them is some kind of condition, like when they are sent to the school.
Yeah.
Right, which was also the worst episode for the teacher, Miss Keen, because it proved how bad of a teacher she is.
Yes.
By the way. And then there is also the episode in which crime was legalized by Princess, so they could not pummel them for legal reasons, ironically. And so, you know what? I'm going to give them a 5.
All right.
You know, just going to be balanced because there were episodes in which they were a legitimate threat, and then there were other episodes in which they were just there and
just there.
It was comedic, mostly. So 5.
Yes. Okay, but we'll go average with a 5.
Now, motivation. They are juvenile delinquents, and they like to bully people, to steal candy, and to cover the city in graffiti and do prank phone calls.
Yes, they just do the typical. I would be tempted to give them a 2.
They are teenagers without any perspective in any
motivation
future
in life.
They don't have any motivation. They clearly don't have a future.
They don't have a goal.
They don't have a goal. They are just delinquents.
For the sake of being delinquents.
2.
Yeah, I give them a 2. That's lower than the Rowdy Rough Boys, then at least.
And it's still higher than Fuzzy Lumpkin.
Yeah.
Now, personality. A solid 9.
Yes, because they have good chemistry as a group.
And they are really They are really funny. They have charisma, and that's basically the whole reason why they're implemented so much. They are funny.
Yes, because if you had them separate, they wouldn't be able to stand on their own. But if you have them together, they're like the best group for comedy, and the best funny moments for our villains' sakes.
Okay, so far, on a personality scale, the gangrene ants are the best villains. And
Yeah.
so far, I think by the end of it, we're going to have a much more dominated uh, classification, dominated that is by the personality points.
I think this makes for a perfect foil from going from one villain who had the most appearances to the one with the least.
Oh.
Seducer, who only had 3 appearances.
Oh yes, let's talk about Sedusa, don't we? We mentioned her before. She's basically Medusa, that's Sedusa's man, and she has living hair that are the product of hair gel, basically.
Yeah,
So,
she's definitely
so
like the Medusa of legend,
now,
almost.
she's very dangerous. She's very dangerous. She's extremely dangerous.
On the sex appeal level, anyway.
Yes. Okay, so in her first appearance, she seduced
Professor Utonium and almost became the girl's stepmother.
And she basically
tried to take control of the family life.
yes, she actually forced them to not fight crime or to stay home to do chores, and she was very, very dictatorial, tyrannical towards them.
And anytime the girls tried to tell Professor Utonium, she'd be all like, "Oh no, Professor, you would not believe me over your daughters?"
And at the end of the day, the professor turned out to be the outstanding father that we all know and love.
Yes. By the end of the episode, yes, he is.
Okay, so let's talk about her major weapon. Well, aside of her female arts, so to speak, in which she seduces men for her own advantages.
The hair.
The hair is very dangerous, actually, because if you get... Because she basically waves and moves her hair like a Dr. Octopus would use his metallic octopus thingies to fight Spider-Man, so to speak. And if you get hit by the air, you get stuck to the wall by the really strong gel.
Yeah.
Its only weakness, it's water.
Which makes sense, in logical sense.
So, on a threat level, just by what she can do with her, namesake abilities.
And also the cat fight her and Miss Bellum had.
Yes, that actually brings a problem, because Sedusa, when you actually neutralize her hair, Sedusa can actually be easily taken down by someone who doesn't have superpowers.
Yeah.
But then again, what she does do with her female arts can and will ruin lives. And it almost ruined the lives of the Powerpuff Girls at some point.
So...
And she also manipulated the gangrene ants to become competent criminals.
Yes, that's kind of weird for that.
So I'd say I give her a 7.5.
You know, I'll go with you, 7.5 on that one. She did get close to to ruining the girl's life from the source.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that makes it. So I guess that makes a good, but not great of a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, motivation. I don't even know what her motivation was.
Motivation? No, the motivation is simple. Getting rich and getting power.
Oh, so she's the gold digger.
She's the gold digger. She's a gold digger. It's a solid motivation for a criminal like her. It's a solid motivation. So I'd say I give her a 7.
Yeah, so let's give her a 7 on that one as well, just because it's it's money is always a good incentive.
Exactly. And also money and power. And
yeah,
with her
money and power is always
also,
a good.
She's also we should have mentioned this in the threat classification. She's good at camouflaging herself, which is also part of her danger level. She can be anyone or anything, and you wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, she's a master
ba-
of disguise.
She's basically Decoy Octopus from Metal Gear Solid. Except she does not die off screen.
Yeah.
Or I should say she does not die before you even discover it was him. So it's okay. And personality.
Bit difficult for me because it seems she.
Well, I am not actually very much impressed by her personality, but only because I've seen her type of character in various media and stories before and after this.
That's kind of my reason why I'm not too impressed with her either.
She is the typical Jezebel. She takes control of men using her
Wiles.
Power of seduction, and she takes control, and she's also a gold digger, but
she really does. She's not really funny, is she?
no, she's not funny. Although when she actually uses the paddings of her bra as shuriken, that was actually funny. When she was pretending to be Miss Bellum.
Oh, the things the show gets away with.
Yeah. In the same episode in which she is seducing the mayor, there is a masturbation joke, which turns into a small member joke. With the mayor pencil in the shredder.
Oh gosh.
Oh man. So personality-wise,
No.
I'd say 5.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna say 5 as well because I was about to give her a 4 just because I was not very impressed.
I'm having so much fun with this.
Yes, actually, it's really taking me. It's really getting the rust off my reviewing villains.
Yes, because you used to do that
Antagonist Archive show.
Yes,
I'm still trying to rework it.
Okay. After Sedusa, I think we should move on to the joke villains, just for joke's sake. The Amoeba Boys.
Oh, they are most amazing, underutilized characters.
They are really funny, the Amoeba Boys, but then again, they are just a joke, so there is not much you can do about it.
There's not really much to talk about them either, actually.
The Amoeba Boys are literal floating amoebas, and they are not a threat to anyone, but they wish they would. And the worst thing they ever did was to try to walk on the grass that we're supposed to walk onto, get infected by the rain, and spread a contagious virus completely by accident. Which was threatening, but for completely the wrong reasons.
Yes.
So, Amoeba Boys, they are... Okay, threat... 1.
Yes, immediately.
Actually, you know what? 1.5 because of that old sickness.
Yes, I was going to say 1.5 or 2 just because of that bit, but they're not really much of a threat. The only thing they...
Oh, also, they stole an orange. It took them like 5 seasons, but they finally managed to steal an orange in season 5. They stole the orange. They are hardened criminals now.
Yes, and the guy and the storekeeper couldn't give a toss that they did.
Oh man, motivation.
The only thing I remember about them accomplishing almost was that very first episode I ever saw them in was when the Powerpuff Girls was trying to teach them how to rob a bank.
Oh yes, that one. That one that I never saw actually.
I remember that one just because they had this whole monologue with themselves to the audience, going like, "Look at them being all, not even giving us a second look."
They are really funny. They are really funny. They are really funny too. I think my favorite episode with them was the episode in which, Mojo Jojo's had devised the greatest plan to destroy the Powerpuff Girls ever. but he lost it, and the Amoeba Boys gets it by accident, and the Powerpuff Girls actually get into it thinking it's a scavenger's hunt. So completely by accident, the Amoeba Boys almost destroyed the Powerpuff Girls without even actually realizing what's going on. It was so funny. But okay, so threat 1.5.
Yeah, press 1.5. Then motivation.
1. They want to be criminals. 1.
That is not very. That's not a very high, lofty goal, is it?
But personality.
Oh,
Uh,
we have to give them an 8 at least, just
I
because
would,
they're funny.
I would, yes, absolutely. I agree. An 8 for
They're
the
just so lovable. I mean, you just can't help but like them.
Absolutely. They are so funny. They are so likable. They are not cut out for being criminals.
Yes, but you just love seeing them on screen and hearing.
I'm almost cheering for them. Come on, you guys! You can become criminals if you really put yourself into it.
Yeah, I mean, next you could probably steal. Dare I say it?
2 oranges?
Yes, 2 oranges.
Oh! Okay, so there was an episode in which they actually learned to multiplicate themselves.
Oh God!
And you know what they do?
What?
They steal all of the oranges. And as soon as they steal all of the oranges, everybody gets scurvy.
We don't have any other fruit in this town.
No, vitamin C. Oh no, how will we ever prevent scurvy now?
I think we're done with the Amoeba Boys after those
Yes.
glowing episode recommendations.
Yes.
Let's see.
Okay, so now what's left before we move to the big ones? What's left here?
I'm trying to remember now.
Place you covered now. Oh, of course, Princess Morbucks.
I'm thinking about her actually, but I didn't realize she would be a perfect segue.
Princess is, well, not actually. Actually, she should. Actually, Princess should be one of the highest level villains, considering that, well, she's rich, and rich people who are also evil are always dangerous.
Yeah, she's like Luther.
And she's as spoiled as.
She's a spoiled brat that you've ever seen in your life.
She's the spoiled. She makes Diamond Tiara pale in comparison.
She's so spoiled that milk would look, in date still.
But I think she has one of the best motivations, actually. Well, in relation to her characters.
Well, I remember the first episode she was in.
Her whole point is that she wants to be a Powerpuff Girls. She is a rich, spoiled brat, so she's always been used to get whatever she wants from anyone, because everyone would actually bend backwards to please her because she is thinking rich, or at least her father is thinking rich. She is Daddy's girl, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. She's one of those girls.
So when the Powerpuff Girls told them outright she could never be a Powerpuff Girls because she doesn't understand what it takes to be a superhero, she reacts in the only rational way she would react, by
cries to her daddy.
Cries to her daddy to give her money so that she can actually buy her superpowers, like Batman. So commentary about Batman too. And then she tries to destroy the Powerpuff Girls with her most powerful armor suit. She almost succeeds, and out of spite, because if nobody can be a Powerpuff Girls, if I cannot be a Powerpuff Girls, then nobody is. And that is going to be actually her own motivation throughout the entire show. Either destroying the Powerpuff Girls for revenge purposes, or to find some way to actually get into their group.
Yes, that was actually the first episode I was actually about to mention before you took over.
Yes, sorry, but that's her first appearance.
Yes,
so
that was her first appearance, and yes, she's spoiled brat with lots of Batman powers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, but to be honest, Princess is I think makes a good villain in the fact that because of her spoiled nature, that it's the opposite of what the girls are like, because they're not they don't beg for things from their father.
No, no, definitely they. Okay, so the fundamental difference is that, yes, like you said, Princess Morbucks has always gotten what she wanted because she wanted it.
Yes.
And the family is rich. The Powerpuff Girls didn't
ask or need anything.
The Powerpuff Girls did not ask to be born with superpowers. They did by accident, but they decided to put them to good use for the benefit of the people. So they earned their status as Powerpuff Girls. And that's why Princess Morbucks is a legitimate threat because, well, her greatest asset is money. And with said money, she can buy herself superpowers, she can hire Mojo Jojo to plan the destruction of the Powerpuff Girls to get together, or she can buy a mayorship of Townsville and declare crime legal.
It's like becoming mayor is like the most easiest thing for any villain to do.
Well, and the best part is that she bought mayorship from the old mayor by giving him an entire room full of Turkish delight.
I remember that. That was actually really genius.
Okay, so threat level, I'd say a solid 8.
Yes, I would say I would say go with 8 because she has all that money and
money is the greatest power.
Money's the greatest weapon you can have.
Yes, money is the greatest weapon. Money and status.
Unless you're Senator Attica, who basically say throw money at the problem and it will still remain.
Yes, that's also true in her case. She can throw all the money she wants, but at the end of the day, she never became a Powerpuff Girls because she is a freaking spoiled brat. And we said that word about 50 times during
because that's the only thing about a character.
And and yet I think her best performance in the show was in the episode Super Friends, when she conceived the simplest and yet most clever scheme to try and get into the Powerpuff Girls. And you should rewatch that episode because it's a really fantastic episode.
Yes, I should rewatch that because I only barely remember it.
Anyway, so threat level 8. Motivation, we like I said, this is probably the best motivation this kind of character could get. And it's motivation that makes the most sense. She wants to be the one thing that she cannot be because it's the one thing that she cannot buy with money. Perfect motivation for this kind of character. So I'd say motivation 8.5.
I was about to say a 9.
9 is perfect.
9's good, I think.
9 is good. Motivation 9.
Personality, charisma.
I think she's very charismatic for what she is. She's funny when she wants to be, and she can be really detestable, and that's fine too. She's supposed to be.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like that.
She's supposed to be the spoiled brat again. But the dangerous kind because she has the money and the resources to be a threat to everyone out of her egotistical needs. So
let me think now.
So let me think.
I'd be tempted to say 8 or 8.5 for her personality.
I would go with 8 as well. Okay, so far Princess has the highest scores.
She has the best overall, anyway.
She has the best overall, 898. Yes, absolutely, the best overall. So, okay, so after Princess Morbucks...
Let's see, who do we go on next to?
Well, I think...
you think it's time to talk about him?
Actually, I would love to have him for last.
Okay, so Mojo Jojo, is it?
Mojo Jojo is the main villain of the show. It's the most recurring villain, it's the most utilized villain, it's the most beloved villain.
Yes, everyone just loves him.
It is the most persistent villain, and it is the one who is the most whose own background is the most deeply ingrained with the main heroines, and all of that makes him the perfect nemesis for the girls. Because they have superpowers, he has super intelligent, and also an ego to match the intelligence. And his greatest weakness is his own tendency to
overthink things
and being extremely rhetoric. I I will now concede the plan, the greatest plan to destroy the Powerpuff Girls, which is going to be so great. He will destroy them, and he will destroy them because it's the plan to destroy them. And I'll be the one to activate this plan, which will destroy the Powerpuff Girls. Me, Mojo Jojo.
Do you remember the time when Mojo Jojo actually did the same plan twice, but that's because he tried to do the plan a second time, but he tried to learn from mistakes.
That episode was a lame clip show.
Yes, it was extremely lame.
Which baffles me because it was directed by 3 people, one of which was Genny Tartakovsky.
That is... I have no idea what to say about that, but...
So his first ever scheme in the show was to turn everyone into dogs. Okay, so Mojo Jojo is simultaneously the most dangerous villain they ever faced, but also the most sad at times.
Yeah.
Because they defeated him so many times, the poor guy. You would almost cheer for him.
You think the guy would need a break or take a vacation somewhere.
But nevertheless, okay, so the writers of the show managed to find different use for Mojo. Occasionally he is a joke. He's kind of a joke, and he's kind of the butt of a joke, so to speak.
Yeah.
Big fan of it. But there are many other times in which he's the most legitimate threat you could possibly have. For example, what he does in the film, and which you haven't seen. And then there is when he created the Radioactive Boys, he was the one who created them, so he was the one behind them. That's threat level. That enhances threat level immensely. And he's also the one who almost in many occasions came very close to destroy the girls. And the only thing that stopped me were circumstantial dumb luck on the girl's part, so to speak. So he is the most persistent villain. He's the one who came the closest to destroy them. He's also the most intelligent, but also the most egomaniacal. And he's also the funniest and the most charismatic. Absolutely.
Yes.
Threat level 9.
Yes, I agree. 9 is a great threat level because his brain he's definitely goes beyond the intelligence of all the other villains.
Yes, but at the same time, he's also impeded by his own childish lack of self-awareness and rhetorical and ego that prevents him to actually see the obvious at times, like in that episode you mentioned, in which he does the same plan a second time, and is so concentrated on seeing the minutiae, the details of the plan, that he forget completely about the big picture.
Yeah, I think that's the point why he's 9, not a 10, just because of that reason.
And he's also, the most beloved villain. So, motivation-wise, he wants to take over the world. Simple, to the point, Silver Age, comic book villain stuff. 10.
Yes, 10. I would have been tempted to put him lower just because everyone comes up with that motivation, but you know what?
Yes, but when
Mojo Jojo actually means it.
And he does so, and when you have the charisma to back that off, you can do whatever you want. And speaking of personality, 10.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes,
10.
He's a beloved 10. That guy.
10, absolutely. Mojo Jojo. So and now he's the guy with the best overall. Now, highest score so far.
Is anyone shocked by this at any time?
Absolutely not. It's Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo. For I, Mojo Jojo, will always be on top of all you villains, because I, Mojo Jojo.
Okay. At this point, we have to talk about the evilest of the evil. The baddest of the bad. The one that cannot be named. Him. Okay, Him is a really difficult character. I should say, really difficult entity to talk about.
Yeah, because...
Well, he is basically the devil.
Yeah.
He is called the supernatural manifestation of evil, and he's the devil, basically. What he does is very much devil-like. He deals in temptation, driving people apart with hatred, corrupting the soul and the innocence. He is the devil.
Yes, he's the devil from that Santa movie. You know.
What?
I was trying to make a joke, yeah, because there was a Mystery Science Theater 3000 did riffed on a movie where the devil faced against Santa.
Well, I'm afraid I've not seen that. I probably should have. Okay, so
anyway,
him is.
It's very difficult for me because he was actually my favorite personally, just because of design and the way he carries himself as a villain.
Him can be really threatening, as in not just for what he does, but how he presents himself, especially in the earlier episodes. In fact, in season 1, he was sold as the greatest malevolent entity ever born. Even Mojo Jojo was afraid of him.
Yes, I have to admit, he was so powerful. He was able to change the entire Townsville to be against the Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, okay, there are inconsistencies in how him is written. Because in certain episodes, he is depicted as this untouchable evil entity that cannot be beaten in conventional ways. Most certainly not beaten to a pulp, but you cannot. The only thing you can hope is to actually beat his schemes and prove to be a much better person than he wants you to turn into. You can only achieve moral victories against this villain, not physical, literal beat you up victories. Or at least that's what I would love to say if episodes like Meet the Beatles didn't exist. that episode was a lot of fun, but it was really damaging for the character of him.
Yeah, I only think he was chosen to be in the team just because he was the most popular of the cast of villains.
Well, Mojo is.
Yes, but him was also another popular one.
Mojo the princess and Mojo the princess, him. For some reason, even Fuzzy Lumpkin were the most popular. So, okay.
Yeah.
But, okay, so forgetting that episode, everything else, he is appearing in the most, terrifying episode, so to speak. In the first appearance, he actually drives Blossom and Buttercup apart and possesses Bubbles' little doll, Octi. And, And he plays mind games to drive them apart. In the second appearance, he literally makes every inhabitant of Townsville going against the Powerpuff Girls to the point that they are forced to actually beat them up to have them snap out of it.
Yes,
which was a really dangerous gamble.
Yes, extremely dangerous.
And it is implied that him could actually do that again if he wanted to, but he chooses not to because he never repeats his performances, girls. Because that's how he rolls. And so the guy cannot be beaten in any way possible. He can only be. You can only achieve moral victory against him. And his whole schemes are all about, tarnishing the purity of the girls, driving them to become the antithesis of what they are, destroying their very soul, so to speak. And to me, that is possibly the highest level of threat a villain could have, because it's one thing to almost physically destroy them, or defeating them, or beating them up, but when you actually get to their souls, when you actually manage, when you want to tarnish their soul to the point that they become, completely something else, that they lose sight of what they once said. I think that is the worst thing a villain would
possibly do
to you, and it's like something motivated by pure spite. So from a threat level, to me, his power
is a solid 10 for me.
It's a solid 10. Also, he brought back the Rowdy Rough Boys in season 5 and gave them an ability to counteract the cutie's death, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's just say that that episode seems a metaphor for puberty, because when the girls tried to kiss them, to destroy them, they became bigger. and then they turned smaller when they were ridiculed and their masculinity was offended.
Yes, that masculinity was put into question.
So if you ignore the episodes in which him is actually physically assaulted, which they still don't make sense to me, what he's trying to do is to destroy the Powerpuff Girls from within. From within. And then going back to the episode Speed Demon, when he takes over the future and he turns into the monstrous version of him that we never see of again, which is too bad, because it was really the most threatening form he ever assumed.
Yes,
remember that?
Yes, I definitely remember it. It was a very nightmarish form indeed.
Yes, that is a solid 10.
Yes,
absolutely.
Solid 10 on power, that's for sure.
Okay, motivation. He is the source of all evil, and an entity that doesn't really need anything. So whatever he does it completely out of spite. He persecutes the PPG completely out of spite, because he just doesn't like the fact that they are so good.
Nice.
They're so nice and so good. Well, Buttercup isn't so nice, but
they still are a symbol of good and niceness.
And they go against everything he represents and stands for evil-wise. So his motivation is spite. And I think it's a really good motivation for him, for the devil.
I definitely do agree with that one.
So I think I think a 10.
Yeah, so let's go with a 10, just because I can't help myself.
Personality.
10.
Oh my god. I can't believe this. Okay, him has overall 10s in every category.
Yes, I'm sorry, I cannot help myself to give him 10s around the board.
Oh my gosh. So according to this, him is the best villain in the show.
Even though that's not true.
Technically, we like Mojo more, technically, but according to the classification we apply to this list, him is the best villain. So
who's the worst then?
Well, the worst are the Amoeba Boys.
Wow.
No, actually, okay. For overalls, I'd say yes, the Amoeba Boys are the worst. Second worst is the Fuzzy Lumpkins.
Yes, I would assume that. But still, I just couldn't help myself. Him really ingrained himself into my memory of the show.
Yes. I mean, if it weren't for those couple of episodes in which they kind of diminish his threat level by being, touchable, so to speak, or to be even
beaten by the force of punching in the face.
Or even not as composed as a villain. It's a kind of but still, for what he wants to do and how he plans to do it, by playing on the insecurities and the fears of the girls.
Yes, breaking them from within.
Yes,
that stuff is gold.
Yes, trying to get the better of them from a psychological and emotional standpoint. Yes, that makes him the most threatening villain. So yes, I guess we're done here.
Yes, we actually are done. Took us 2 hours.
This is the longest podcast we ever did. I think.
Yes, it is. It is definitely the longest.
But it's also the most amusing.
Yes,
it's always nice to.
It's always nice to analyze these things.
I was going to say it's always nice to drown in nostalgia.
Well, yes, because we get to reminisce about shows we grew up with.
I like the fact that the second part, in which started to do classifications of villainous stats, doesn't quite have anything to do with the first part, which is just general Powerpuff Girls discussion.
Yes. So yeah, I think we're done here. I think we can should we just close up and get going to bed?
Well, I think yes, that will be for the best. So once again, the day is saved thanks to the Team Yume boys. Dun, 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 dun.
Look, Madhog, I stole an orange.
Oh yeah? Then I just stole an apple.
Oh no way! Oh no wait! I saved a lemon.
Well, I cannot compete with that. Oh, dude, that's so once again, the numbers that we establish here do not reflect our liking of certain characters, because we actually really like the Amoeba boys.
Yes.
So, but you know, as far as villains do, as the functionality of villainhood here, we established that Mojo and him, for great surprise of no one, are the most effective.
Yes. Good night, all.
Yes, good night, all. Oh boy. Hey, Davar?
Yes.
Could you help me open this can of pickles?
Oh.
Pickles! I cannot get to them. Also, I have this pig to chase down. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Take care, all. And help me catch my pig.
I'll help you now. I cannot reproduce country banjo music. Oh man, Fuzzy Lumpkins. What to do with Fuzzy Lumpkins? That's, you know, I think he pretty much exhausted his entire presence with the becoming mayor opposite. Did you know that he tried to marry Professor Utonium?
No, I don't remember that one.
Well, no, yeah, it was in season 5, so I seems all the worst is from season 5. Oh, I wonder why. Okay, so now seriously, enough with that.
Yes.
I'm going to bid you good night, fellow listeners. Don't let the bad bugs part. Sleep tight.